Alright, this is for the single mothers. I love y'all. Keep doing what y'all do. Go ahead, Anna.
Keep on going, you just gotta fight it. Keep on going, cause it's not too late. You can't back down. You can't back down. Keep on going, you just gotta fight it. Keep on going, cause it's never too late. You can't.
Currently, 1 in 5 Australian families with children under 15 years old are headed by a single parent, most of whom are single mothers.
All alone in the tower of a man, nowhere to be found. And on top of that, life is beating you down. Keep your head up and never back down. Gotta give you strength to go another round. The joy that you lost can be found.
Single mothers are most affected by poverty compared with other groups. 1/3, or 33%, of sole parents were reported to be in poverty during 2012, and as a consequence, more than 1/3 of all children in poverty were in sole parent households, compared with less than 1/4 in couple families.
There are two main explanations to poverty: individual and structural. Historically, liberal and neoliberalism ideologies have suggested that poverty lies within the individual, and if they wish to get out of poverty, they need to have a natural talent or need to be prepared to work hard, and that having a lack of these things is actually what led to that individual being in poverty to begin with. Within individual explanations, there is a difference between deserving and undeserving people. Deserving people are considered to be those with children or those with severe disabilities, which is considered no fault of their own, while undeserving people are seen as those who appear to be very capable of working, but instead are relying on government assistance, which is seen as too much intervention from the government. Herbert Spencer was one theorist, and he believed in a natural state of competition. According to Lister, we can see social class plays a large role in inequalities in both income and wealth. This inequality affects every aspect of a person's life, including life expectancy, health, education, and employment opportunities. Although poverty and inequality is not the same thing, they are closely linked, and we need to consider that with inequality within a community, it is going to be harder for those that are at the top and well off to identify with people living in poverty, and will be harder for them to sympathise with redistribution policies that improve poverty.
The second explanation of poverty is that of structure. A structural explanation of poverty dates back to Marx's theory of conflict sociology and places an emphasis on how society is organised, rather than blaming the individual. Structural explanations embrace socialism and social democracy. According to Porter and Tresize, both Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels emphasise that socio-economic mechanisms relating to capitalism have generated an unequal distribution of wealth. This competition for greater market share, and therefore wealth, inevitably creates poverty by creating conflict or competition, which results in winners, the rich, and losers, being the poor. One of the more contemporary explanations of poverty, which focuses on structural ideologies, is that of Ruth Lister's multidimensional framework. Lister's framework explores the many factors responsible for poverty. She lists a broad spectrum of issues such as structural issues, including class, socioeconomics, gender, race and disability, group or individual experiences and responses, life course patterns or development, spatial and geographical locality, including urban segregation. Lister quotes, "An understanding of how poverty is framed by geography, inequality, social divisions, and the life course throws light on both the underlying structural, causal factors and the differential experiences of poverty."
Porter and Tresize further note that most single parents are women, and traditionally, women take responsibility for the children after relationship breakdown. The burden of childcare costs and an often inflexible workforce negatively impact single mothers. Social isolation is one of the biggest issues facing single mothers. Feelings of isolation create stress and depression, and according to Robinson, a poorer psychological well-being. The Australian Council of Social Services, ACOS, identifies single-parent families as being vulnerable to structural inequalities. They often feel helpless, become vulnerable to health problems or mental illness, therefore reducing their desire and or ability to work and therefore perpetuating the cycle of poverty. This structural inequality results in more single mothers being left out of the workforce, which results in reduced opportunities, feelings of social exclusion, financial hardship and overall helplessness.
Single mothers experiencing unemployment and low income support payments, it is common for most household income to be spent entirely on necessities such as rent, bills, medical expenses and food.
So transport and increase in education costs can create significant financial struggles, especially as children grow older. Many single mothers can't afford to pay for things like swimming lessons or sports that other families take for granted.
Often single mothers are forced to rely on services offered by community organisations just to get by. Something as simple as the washing machine breaking down may be cause for disaster. The cost of daily meals and electricity to heat the home may be unbearable for this group. Isolation and quality of life may also be reduced by financial hardship, as single parent families cannot afford to participate in activities deemed socially necessary, such as a night out once a fortnight, having friends or family over for a meal, or a holiday away from home at least 1 week a year.
Essential items and services are commonly out of reach for single mothers, such as dental care, news books, school books and school clothes, secure and safe housing, furniture, a separate bed for each child, insurance, a telephone and emergency savings. Simple things like new clothes may be out of the question and need to be purchased second-hand, often leading to further stigma and bullying.
Place poverty is an issue for single mothers. According to Lister, single mothers might be affected by being labelled because of the neighbourhood in which they live. A high concentration of poverty tend to cluster together. Such environments are damaging to mental health and general well-being.
Single mothers often act as a shock absorber in order to help their children. They often go without food, clothing and warmth, so their children do not.
From January 2013, thousands of single parents were moved from the parenting payment benefit to the lower paid New Start allowance. Once the youngest child turns 8, single parents become ineligible for the parenting payment, forcing them to rely on the New Start rate, which according to the 2014 ACOS report is $94 below the poverty line. According to the ACOS report, a single parent with 2 dependent children requires an income of $640.40 per week after paying rent in order to remain above the poverty line. We believe that these forms of Centrelink payments help reduce absolute poverty, however they do not alleviate relative poverty.